McFadyen. Hello guys, it's a big pleasure to be with a friend from the market, Tom McFadyen from McFadyen. Tom is a very strong guy in the marketplace and e-commerce in US. I would like to introduce you to you guys. Please, Tom, very welcome to be with,
Thank you.
with us in the podcast in VTEX Day. Thank you.
It's an honor. I appreciate the chance to be on the Avanti podcast.
Please, Tom, tell for the people a little bit about your experience a long time in the e-commerce market, especially in marketplace, and tell a little bit about your experience in VTEX Day.
Well, VTEX Day, to start, is a great event. So I speak at a lot of different conferences around the world, and I think actually this is the biggest e-commerce event in 2022. Some of the others have been canceled or downsized because of COVID, but I'm pretty sure this is the largest e-commerce event in the world. Great event.
Very nice. And how about your first time in the event, and about your first time speaking for Brazilian people, giving a lot of information about your experience, especially about your book in the marketplace? Because when we look at our market, e-commerce business, we don't have a lot of books talking about this and going very deep about the model of marketplace or e-commerce business. I would like to know a little bit more about your presentation and about the book, please.
Great. Yeah, so I spoke today, it was a little bit intimidating speaking after Sir Lewis Hamilton, following him, but I think based on his track record at the Formula One, probably everybody's following him. Nobody's leading him. So that was a great session, great speakers here at VTEX Day. Regarding e-commerce and marketplaces, our core offering is implementing these in the US. So we're headquartered in Virginia outside of Washington, DC. And we started building e-commerce solutions 25 years ago, really with the launch of SSL and ATG, one of the first e-commerce platforms. And back then, almost 20 years ago, we wrote a book, E-commerce Best Practices, which helped define the industry and the best practices, since that was so new to people. Last year, we wrote the book, Marketplace Best Practices, which was an Amazon bestseller, #1 in the category of commerce and retail for about a month. And that's done the same thing. It's providing good education for people who are new to the marketplace business model, the financials, the technology, the ecosystem, how the dynamics of the platform economy work. So it's been a great exercise for us. We like to do a lot of public education, including speaking at conferences like VTEX Day.
When we watch to the market, we see the companies like retailers, like industry. Everybody is looking for a digital ecosystem. And in your opinion, what's the biggest challenge especially for manufacturers to go through the market and make a model to go to the marketplace way?
Yeah, so there are a couple of options. Manufacturer can go direct to consumer and bypass their traditional distributor and reseller channel. That alienates the distributor and reseller channel, and they'll lose that typical brick and mortar or other distribution channel conflict, as you like to say. Marketplaces can provide an opportunity, like the AB InBev example of manufacturer distributor providing goods through their channel, like the retailers, and the retailer delivers the good to the last mile to the consumer, but the order is placed on the manufacturer's site. The manufacturer gets the information, all the data about the customer, which they lose in the traditional multi-tier distribution model. If the manufacturer sells to distributor, sells to retailer, sells to end consumer, the manufacturer generally has no idea about who the customers are. So this type of a marketplace opportunity gives the manufacturer or the brand or the distributor the opportunity to get to know their customer, to have a relationship with them, to better market them and collect a lot of data.
Now I go to another perspective, another view. I would like to know, you guys like 20 years working with e-commerce, a lot of kind of business models, and when you look outside of the US and you look to Latin America, especially in Brazil, what's the big difference in those markets? It's more about consumer behavior, or it's more about culture, technology? What do you think is the biggest difference between US and Brazil especially?
I'd say there are a number of small factors, not so small, I should say. Payment options is one that definitely varies from country to country. A lot of unbanked or underbanked customers who need alternate payment channels or pay over 12 payments is very unique to Brazil. We don't see that. We have not seen that in the US. We're starting to see more of that pay over time, solutions like Klarna offering pay in 4 installments. So I'd say the US is learning from Brazil in that regard. Brazil has also been very popular with the marketplaces. So the Americanas, Magalu, Mercado Libre, Cencosud have started marketplaces that have been very successful in their categories. Of course, that's happening in the US as well and globally. So that's a transformation I think is happening in most locations. I think in general the financial economic model of budgets is certainly a lot less in Brazil than it is in the US, obviously due to separate different labor costs. That's another factor we see quite a bit.
When we listen, especially Mariano from VTEX, Mariano liked to say that Latin America has a potential to be the main player in digital service. What's your opinion about that?
Certainly, I think there's a lot of growth opportunity. In Scott Galloway's presentation, he talked a lot about the opportunity with the internet connectivity, the wages, the cultural aspects that represent a huge opportunity for Brazil. He was very bullish on the great opportunity ahead for Brazil in the global economy.
Maybe our time zone is not so complex because sometimes we are like an hour or 2 hours in difference than US, and we can have people here working for that.
That's what we do, as we're neighbors in wonderful Floripa. It's a couple blocks away from each other, offices there. Our development center in Floripa is serving our clients in the US and Europe a little bit, but predominantly, exclusively I should say, our clients in the US.
Now I will make a question about mine. Like we are at the same business model. You guys working more in the US market, we are in Brazil, and we are at the same business. It's very similar, I think. Of course, you guys have more 20 years working with e-commerce, and we are 10 years, like 10 years in difference. What's the biggest challenge to keep innovating, to keep ahead in the especially in the e-commerce services marketplace, I think?
Yeah, good question. And in e-commerce years, like dog years, 10 years and 25 years are the same thing. It doesn't matter much. In the US market, I'd say there's a book, Blue Ocean versus Red Ocean, and the market for, let's say, the Shopify small business e-commerce implementations, which they have a couple million implementations of Shopify out there in the US, not so popular in Brazil, but it's become a red ocean of literally thousands of companies that build e-commerce sites now. So for us, as a focus more on the enterprise scale marketplaces, our commerce solutions, digital solutions, we've decided to focus exclusively on marketplaces, so that we are more into a blue ocean, in which there are few, almost no companies exclusively focused on marketplaces. E-commerce is still a part of building a marketplace, but for us, that's one of the things we've seen in the evolution of the e-commerce services or agency system integration business over the past few years, and where we want to try to stay ahead of the curve. E-commerce in the US 25 years ago was innovative and disruptive. Now it's really marketplaces are the disruption that's changing e-commerce for the next business model.
When we look to the marketplace model, sometimes we just look to retail. But of course, we have another kind of business models like Uber, like iFood in Brazil, Rappi. and a lot of things. And how about this disruptive model in US? Amazon started like 25 years ago selling books, and now they sell everything. Everything you need, you find in Amazon. When we read and we keep looking outside to keep informated about US market, we see that the consumer behavior are more driven to find some everything inside Amazon than Google. In Brazil, people finding Google than Amazon. It's a little bit difference.
Yeah, actually, in the U.S., Amazon's become more popular as a product search engine than Google. I would think that Mercado Libre might be, or Magalu, or some of the big marketplaces here, Americanas, might be some of the more popular destinations for product searches as well. I don't know the statistics for Brazil. But you mentioned different types of marketplaces. And I had the slide on my presentation and in the book about the B2B, B2C, C2C, consumer to consumer, and consumer to business. So there are lots of those different business models that can be implemented. And in the types of goods offered, it can be physical goods like buying a shirt or a TV or a sofa. It can be services, marketplaces. So I mentioned Rappi as the service of delivering food. It can be a digital good. So it could be an NFT or Apple App Store downloading a digital application. So, and even we're seeing a lot of NFT opportunity. We're building out our first NFT marketplace. So those other digital goods are very explosive, and we think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. It's still the wild, wild west. So who knows who's going to win in the NFT space and whether the crazy valuations are worth it or not.
Very nice, Tom. Very nice moment to be with you in VTEX Day, talking about this very, very, very big market, and we are very passionate about that.
Absolutely.
And it's special to talk to you and learn a little bit, because you are very, very strong name, and especially when we go to NERF in New York, and we know that you are a very strong guy, and everybody know you.
Yeah. Well, it's an honor to be with Avanti here. You guys are, I think, the leading VTEX system integrator. You've done great work. Always hear positive things about you from VTEX and from retailers in Brazil about the great work that Avanti is doing. So congratulations to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Very nice.